The Texas sun was slipping behind the Austin skyline, painting the sky in soft gold and orange streaks. Jake and I sat on the roof of his worn-down apartment building, legs dangling over the edge, sipping cheap beer that had long since gone warm. The city hummed beneath us, traffic lights blinking, music echoing faintly from nearby bars. A chorus of life that somehow made us feel alive too. We'd been best friends since middle school. Two kids from nothing, trying to build something out of air. Jake was the creative one, a dreamer with wild ideas and a laugh that made everyone around him feel lighter. I was the planner, the one who took his dreams and tried to make them work on paper. Together, we had always believed the world owed us one good chance. "I'm telling you, man," Jake said, leaning back on his elbows, "one day we'll look back at this, the broken roof, the cheap beer, all of it, and laugh, because we'll be millionaires by then." I chuckled. "Millionaires who still drink cheap beer, right?" "Hell yeah," he grinned. "Money won't change us." That line stuck with me, a promise sealed under a pink Texas sunset. It wasn't just words. It was faith, loyalty, something we both truly believed. We'd been through too much together. Late-night diner shifts, rejected job applications, and landlords who didn't care if we were a week behind on rent. Nothing could break that kind of bond. A few months later, when I got my startup idea noticed by investors, Jake was the first one I called. He ran up the stairs to my apartment barefoot, yelling, "We did it!" like it was our win, not just mine. And in a way, it was. He had stayed up with me every night, testing prototypes, giving feedback, cheering me on when no one else believed. That night on the roof, I told him, "No matter what happens, I'll never forget this, or you." He looked at me with that same half-smile and said, "Good, because money doesn't change people, it just shows who they really are." Back then I laughed, not realizing that one day those words would come back to haunt me. 2 months after my company launched, everything changed. What started as a small tech idea in my apartment had exploded into a nationwide buzz. Investors called, journalists wanted interviews, and I barely had time to breathe. For the first time in my life, success wasn't a dream, it was a schedule, a pressure, a performance. At first, Jake was proud. He'd stop by the new downtown office, a sleek space with glass, walls and leather chairs, and beam with pride like he'd built it himself. "Man, you really did it," he'd say, slapping my back. "We did it," I'd always correct him. And I meant it. But somewhere between late meetings and new contracts, the rhythm changed. Jake started coming by unannounced, hanging around during investor visits. He'd joke about how the rich life was treating me, or make comments about how I didn't text him back anymore. Once he asked me for a small loan, just to start something of my own, he said. I hesitated, not because I didn't want to help, but because money complicates things. I told him I'd think about it. He didn't take it well. At the company's first big launch party, champagne, photographers, the works, Jake showed up uninvited. I saw him across the room, wearing jeans and a flannel among suits and dresses. Before I could reach him, he was already talking loudly. "Hey everyone, you know this guy? I used to spot him gas money when he couldn't even afford a burger." Laughter rippled awkwardly through the room. I pulled him aside, my chest burning. "Jake, what the hell are you doing?" He looked at me, glassy-eyed and angry. "I'm just telling the truth. You promised me, man, we were supposed to rise together. Not like this," I snapped. "You can't just show up and embarrass me in front of everyone." He sneered. "Guess success went to your head faster than I thought." The words stung. I told security to escort him out, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know what else to do. As the doors closed behind him, I caught his eyes one last time. There was hurt there, and betrayal. The applause for my speech later that night felt hollow. Every cheer echoed the same thought in my head. Maybe I had already become the person he accused me of being. The morning after the launch party, I woke up to over 30 missed calls and a flood of messages, all from Jake. My phone vibrated non-stop, each notification like a pulse of guilt. The first message was simple: "We need to talk." The next few were angry, confused, pleading. By noon, his tone had shifted between apology and accusation. "Man, I messed up last night. I was drunk. You know me. You think you're better than me now? Please just call me back. I'm still your brother. I sat in my car outside the new office tower downtown, watching people rush by with coffee cups and briefcases. Inside, my assistant was waiting with meeting notes and investor reports. Everything in my life looked shiny, structured, and successful. Everything we'd dreamed of. But I couldn't shake the knot in my stomach. Jake's words from the night before echoed in my mind. You promised me, man. We were supposed to rise together. He wasn't wrong. He had been there since the beginning, when this dream was nothing but sketches on a napkin and a used laptop that overheated every 10 minutes. But things were different now. I had employees, contracts, and responsibilities. I couldn't risk letting emotions mess with business. That's what I told myself anyway. I opened our last text thread. Hundreds of messages stretching back years. Photos, jokes, midnight plans. It felt like scrolling through another lifetime. Then another message came through, the one that broke me. Guess you're too rich to remember where you came from. I stared at it for a long time. My hand hovered over the screen, thumb trembling. Blocking him felt final, like slamming a door that could never reopen. But I did it anyway. One tap, silence. The world didn't end. My phone stopped buzzing. My meetings went on as planned. My investors smiled. But the quiet felt heavy, unnatural. I told myself I needed peace, that he'd understand someday. Yet every time I laughed at work or signed a new deal, something inside whispered, you traded a friend for success. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept unlocking my phone, half expecting his name to appear again. But it never did. The silence was deafening, and for the first time since I'd made it big, I felt completely alone. It was a grey Sunday morning when I finally drove back to the old neighborhood. The GPS said it was only 20 minutes from my new penthouse downtown, but it felt like another lifetime away. The roads were cracked, the buildings older, and the air thick with the smell of fried food and car exhaust, the scent of where it all began. Jake's old apartment stood just as I remembered. Faded brick, chipped paint, and the same rusted fire escape we used to climb when we didn't want the landlord to see us sneaking in late. I parked across the street and just sat there, staring at it through the windshield. It looked smaller now. Everything did. I climbed up to the rooftop, our rooftop. The metal ladder creaked under my weight. The view hadn't changed much. The Austin skyline glowing faintly in the distance. The same hum of traffic below, the same wind brushing past. I could still picture us sitting there, two broke dreamers sharing one last beer before, promising each other that success would never change us. But it had. I sat down in the same spot and let the memories wash over me. Jake's laughter, our stupid jokes, the way he used to talk about building something together. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was an investor, reminding me about a meeting that afternoon. I turned it off. For once, I didn't want to be reachable. I pulled out my phone and searched. Jake's name, nothing. I deleted his number months ago, trying to convince myself it was for the best. I checked social media. His accounts were gone too. It was like he'd vanished from my world completely. For a moment, I thought about driving to his mom's house, maybe asking if he was okay. But something in me hesitated. Pride, shame, fear, maybe all three. I whispered into the wind, I'm sorry, Jake. My voice cracked, carried off by the breeze like it didn't matter. Down below, life went on. Kids laughed, a siren wailed. The city kept moving, like it always had. I stayed there a while longer, staring at the skyline we once dreamed of conquering, realizing I had reached the top, but without the only person who ever believed I could. And for the first time since becoming rich, I finally understood. Money can buy comfort, power, and status, but it can never buy back the people you lose along the way.